quite nice to just get ready for this as if it were a concert.
That's really funny.
Yeah. So I mean,
straightening your hair.
I know, it was crazy. I couldn't even remember how to turn it on.
For anyone who's just tuning in, it looks like we weren't live for our first bit. Jenny and I are just chatting about our pre-concert rituals, and that how this is very different to our normal backstage shenanigans. So yeah, I was in the bathroom cleaning my teeth, and I thought, well, it's just my laptop, and Jenny's apparently straightened her hair. And I think, who's it for? But yes, I think lots of us must have things that we do before concerts. But yeah. And how did you find it doing the recording as a concert compared to a concert?
Well, I mean, it was different, but it was also, it was very different, but it was also so exciting just to be back in a room in a concert-like environment, especially when we did slightly longer takes on it. So, then it really is performing, which just felt so nice after sort of quite a long time of not really doing that and sort of wearing all black. But I definitely missed having an audience there as an immediate. I mean, the audience is so much part of a concert. Really, I mean, it's such a. It's they are so important. So in that respect, I almost had to imagine that, to really pretend they were there, essentially.
Absolutely, I totally agree. It gives it a completely different energy having an audience present with you in the room. But of course, with the social distancing, we were taking up all of the space that they would have been allowed to have anyway.
Yeah. How did you find the social distancing when we were?
Well, I can't wait to have a desk partner back. I so miss having a desk partner. I mean, it must be different for wind and brass and those that are used to having their own stand. But for us, it's
really lonely.
Really isolation to its truest meaning. I long for a desk partner again. Not that we necessarily chat much. It just feels like you say it's very lonely without one. Having someone there with you on the stand.
Yeah, and I realised not having a desk partner, how much I really listen to my desk partner when they're playing. I sort of play with them, and suddenly there was just space, and then a double bass. I wasn't anywhere really near the violas, it was lovely being next to the basses. That was really, really brilliant to have the bass there. But I really missed having just a viola to immediately listen to, bounce off, play together.
Yes, yeah.
Really did miss that.
Very different trying to blend a section sound when you're so much further away from everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
I look forward to things changing when we can be a little bit closer, but definitely we can have a desk partner back.
Yes.
Share a pencil without hand gel, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe we won't ever share a pencil without hand gel again, I'm not sure.
I think those days are past. A pencil each from now on.
Yes, it's strange. And what was the last live concert that you did?
I mean, if you're talking officially in a concert hall with a completely full audience, it was before lockdown 1. It was like March the 13th or something, I think. I did in the summer, I did outdoor things that were quite a lot more relaxed. I did quite a lot with going to Peckham and playing in streets around Peckham with the multi-story orchestra in the summer. I was
going to ask if that was the multi-story.
Yeah, it was multi-story. So that was really lovely. But again, it was great to have an audience there, but it was very, very relaxed, which I love doing, but I still miss that sort of concert hall, big concert hall feeling. I miss the big orchestra feeling. So, yeah, how about you?
Well, if we're including stuff since last March, the last live concert that I did, the only one in the last year actually, was with my piano trio. So Robert Max, who plays with us, we're in a piano trio together with James Kirby. Can't forget one of them. We did a concert at the end of October, I think it would have been, yes, with a very small, socially distanced audience, and we were further apart as well. So chamber music, but spaced out. So again, it feels different when you're used to being so intimate with how you perform and play together and listen and feel each other's breath even, to be a little bit further apart. And James actually was wearing a mask as well in order to have a page turner who was sort of further away and leant over, also masked. So it's quite odd, but I was kind of thrilled to be playing anything actually, and it was a much shorter concert as well. I think that's how things have to happen in order to be in the room together. So it was a shorter concert, just straight through. Usher the audience in, straight to seats, straight out again. So,
But it
Very
must have been so
odd.
nice to have an audience there, though.
Absolutely, and to play with my colleagues. I felt
Yeah.
incredibly emotional before we rehearsed, because it was the first time I'd played my instrument with anyone since the February.
Wow.
And we just did one day of rehearsal for it, and then on the day itself we met. But meeting them again and playing music in the same room as somebody, I felt completely overwhelmed. But I have to admit, I did so much practice for it.
Yeah, I mean, I have found that, I mean, I practiced so much when we did this LCO thing, so nervous about it. And then when I got there, I obviously had learnt the part as well as possible, well as I possibly could. And I'd practiced my scales and everything just to try and get really, really, back to match fit. But I did find that I hadn't, like playing with people, listening to people and stuff was actually, I was like, oh, I haven't done this for so many months.
Something that, I mean, I suppose maybe we sort of used to take it for granted in some ways, that it is our job. And I think all of us would probably be mad if we didn't love it, so it's our job, we love it. It sort of feeds our soul as well, playing music and playing music with others. I think that's the key. I don't want to be sat by myself playing with scales. I've played so many scales, and like hours and hours and hours more practice than I normally would. But then meeting with others again, that's it was, and like you said, that the extra nerves that were involved almost, or whether it was anticipation and excitement. So, look, we've got a question from Bob for you, Jenny. Oh. Jenny, what's it like playing in a car park? Better acoustics than Royal Festival Hall?
Oh, do you know what? It does have such fantastic acoustics. So the car park we play in the most is the Peckhamplex, like the multi-story car park, which is next to the cinema in Peckham. And we play on the second level down. So there's a ceiling, essentially, and then the sides are open. And it's actually really, I mean, it's so boomy. So in that respect, it's hard to play in, but it's got a great acoustic. And so that's, it's actually really lovely. It's very different, obviously, to playing in a concert hall. But it's also, the orchestra's kind of ethos is a bit different anyway. So you kind of approach it, the main point is that the audience are in and around us and amongst us and stuff. So it's kind of really different anyway, but I love it and I miss it.
Yes, yeah. I've got a little follow-up question as well. The scenes in the car park, I should probably know this, but I've been in a car park for so long.
Fair enough.
How high is the ceiling? Because presumably compared to a concert hall, it's probably extremely low.
It's very low, yeah, it's very low, but it is just all raw cement. So I guess maybe that helps the acoustic. I don't know, but it is quite low. I mean, if you're stood, which sometimes we do if we're playing, and you're under one of the beams, the concrete beams, you would hit your bow on the ceiling. Ooh. So you have to stand in the right place.
Do you have to write duck on the appropriate bar in your music if you're going to do a particularly enthusiastic up bow?
Exactly.
Duck just before it.
Don't do too much enthusiasm. Yeah,
exactly. We have another question as well from Kieran, although now I'm curious as well after Kieran's question. It says, for Jenny, what's the pink thing behind your left shoulder?
Oh, thanks, Kieran. It's actually a pink velvet bust of Beethoven.
Can you get a close-up, Jenny?
Shall I go and get him?
Yeah.
Okay. Here he is.
Look at this. I wonder what he'd think.
So, I mean, I just think it's excellent, I have to say. Maybe it's a little bit eccentric, but I absolutely love him. Basically, myself and my boyfriend were in a pub in the summer. We went on a quick weekend break, and the pub was selling all sorts of crazy antiques. And there was this bust of Beethoven, and I sort of was a bit like, oh, that's great, I love it. And my boyfriend Mike was like, okay, well, I'll buy it. And then he bought it straight away. So now it's my pink bust of Beethoven, which sits in my music room.
Fantastic. Love Mike. And if Mike's listening, I'm really pleased you did that. I know Mike. Love Mike. Say hi. I miss Mike. This is, Mike and I, he's not a string player, but we work together in other capacities, and that's one of the other things I just can't wait to be back playing stuff with Albert's band again as well. Yeah. Sad. Pass on the hello. We've got a question from Richard. During this year, did you practice the way you did before? Oh, I like that question. Yeah. Well, you go first, Jenny.
Okay. I have to admit that I practiced slightly less at the beginning of the first lockdown, because I was just, that day where every single concert that was in my diary got cancelled on the same evening, that awful Monday, whatever it was. it did actually throw me a little bit at first. So I put the viola away, and then I was like, okay, I can't deal with this for a bit. And a couple of weeks later, I was like, I'm actually really missing my viola. So I got it out, and I was so excited to be playing it again, even if I was actually still quite sad that I wasn't able to play with anyone, things. So then I suppose since then I've been practicing, perhaps not quite in the same way. I'm doing a bit of playing through to CD, like to the CDs. I'll pick like a symphony that I love, that I miss playing, and I'll just put it on the CD player and then play through with it, which I have done in the past, but not sort of as regularly as I'm doing now.
It's your company, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How about you?
You're less isolated.
Yeah.
I think you're not alone, definitely, from what I've heard from colleagues as well, as that a lot of people, once we got the news that everything was cancelled, we sort of shut off a little bit and things went in cases, and we were just too sad to pick them up. For me, it didn't happen quite like that at first, because I was, whether it feels well timed or not, I think it's swings and roundabouts with it. I was actually still on maternity leave when the first lockdown was in place. So
Right.
my daughter was about 4 months old, something like that, about 4 months old. So I wasn't playing as much. So that the diary thing didn't change things, but I wasn't playing as much because of other reasons.
Sure.
So it didn't feel like a dramatic change, but I felt really rusty and was trying to find more and more time to get back to playing. But what it took away was not having any extra hands. For the small, as we call her, the small. It just meant that I didn't really. I couldn't find the extra time. The time when she was very little and sleeping, I didn't really want to pick up my violin and play scales. So it took some time getting back to it, and I then just found myself playing a lot of scales and a lot of technique before pieces. So I think that changed because there would normally be a project to work towards. So there's specific things on the list and hard deadlines, and you had to work extremely efficiently. So I think what I've found now is the luxury of slow technique practice again, like finding the space for all the stuff that we were told to do over and over again that we did and probably haven't done in such detail. Maybe that's just me.
No, definitely.
Bearing all dirty laundry everywhere. But not just me. No, good. Phew. I mean, I literally now I'm like I'm like, oh, I've got like an hour. I'll play my scale, and I'm going to do it separate bows, really slowly, and then I'll go in pairs and threes and fours and work. I'm like, oh, a whole octave, and before I know it, I'll say about scales. So yeah, it feels like sort of yoga practice or something. I go back to it
nice.
daily and feel elated. So yeah, maybe it's a long-winded way of getting around to it. It's changed because I don't have any big projects. So when I've got one, I spend a huge amount of time preparing for it.
Yeah.
And then I play scales. So we have... I love that. Mike Poyser says, my kids are listening. Miss you too. Oh, so lovely. We have a couple of other questions after our practice. I'm gonna whip through here. Oh, I like this. This is good. So I'm gonna we've got a few, so let's catch up. Question for the benefit of some of the students watching. Okay, any tips for amateur musicians for how to keep their playing going during lockdown? I think we might have touched on some of that already. That what we're doing perhaps hopefully is helpful. Just very basic technique, keep things without the rust on, and then I would say stay inspired. Play stuff that you love. Do what Jenny did. Play along to stuff
you really like. Play along to stuff. I find that really helpful actually, and also just choose the pieces that you really like to play. Like if you're having a bit of a wobbly week or whatever, then pick your favorite piece rather than the piece that maybe you should be learning, because that's still going to improve everything and it's going to inspire you. And you're right, Sophie, like being inspired is so important, especially right now where there's nothing concert wise happening night after night after night. It's not happening at the moment, so we need to find
stay inspired. Yeah, I mean that's why we all do it, isn't it? I think music, whether you're a listener, a player, or all of the above in whatever capacity, that we all share this joy for it. And I think that's what it should be about. Keep the joy. Don't get miserable.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to be miserable about.
Yeah.
We have a question from Alison Coombes. It says,
Oh.
hi, I have a question for you both. What is the thing you've missed the most since lockdown? Is it the people, playing, any specific venues, pieces, or something else?
You can go first. This is my sister, by the way.
Hello, Jenny's sister. What have we missed the most? It's really tough. It's been a strange journey, I think, for everyone in waves. And I certainly started January in an extremely positive state of mind compared to the year before. I just felt like 2021 was a, wipe the slate clean, prepare for the worst, like we haven't before. I have really missed people. Maybe I haven't really wanted to think about the thing that I've missed the most. So negative, isn't it? But I think we all miss so much all the time. What have I missed? I think what I've missed is something that I didn't have before, actually. I think it's really enjoying my maternity leave in a tremendously leisurely way, where I take the small to like the farm and meet my friends for coffee. And I haven't had any of that. And I think there's a lot of young parents out there that haven't had that. And we can say, well, we've had it so good because we've seen so much of them. And, if there are both parents there, or, whatever, how many parents are in the house or family members that are there, they've had so much more of them in this time. But we've probably also been tearing our hair out a lot more and crying into our pillows and screaming. So I think it's something that I didn't have that I've missed. But c'est la vie. How about you, Jenny?
Literally since the beginning of this chat, I've just been thinking, like, how you're saying right at the beginning of like the pre-concert routine and what we do. I've just suddenly realized how much I miss being in like a really tiny changing room with like the whole of the women of the orchestra crammed into this like ridiculously tiny place because they're never big enough. All trying to like use the same mirror, doing our makeup and chatting to each other, and just like that kind of buzz bit of playing with a big group of people. So like, I just love playing with orchestras. That's my sort of real passion in terms of music. And I've just realized how much I miss that. So that sort of that buzz of about to go on stage with all your friends, because musicians always, even if you don't know the people you're playing with, they're always, they become your friends in the course of 5 minutes of the first rehearsal. And just really being with the being with the group. I think that's what I've missed the most. People in general. But,
I suppose music is an incredibly social industry, isn't it? So
it's been weird not having that.
There's two more. Oh, there's a nice question. Oh, this one's not a question. Apparently the small says good night. That's very sweet. I'm downstairs, they're upstairs. Lovely. And then we have a question from Gary. What are your thoughts about returning to a live audience, and is it daunting?
I'm so excited. Like so excited. But I guess it's, Gary, yes, it is actually a little bit daunting as well, in a way. I think I'm more excited than scared, but I think it will be weird. I think is the only word I could like. It'd be weird to sort of walk out and then see a full room of people. But just thinking about that now is actually making me quite excited. So
you have to go out for your pre-concert walk just
because
you're so excited about thinking about a concert.
Too much adrenaline.
Every night at 6:45, that'll be Jenny doing her pre-concert walk for the one concert that'll be in like 3, 4, 5, 6 months time.
Yeah, exactly. How about you?
Am I daunted by it? No, I think similarly excited, but I perhaps am not having in my head that it's going to happen yet. I'm refusing that this will happen again. I'm sure it will. But until there's something in the diary confirmed and I feel positive about the reality of an audience being there in any way that we're used to, I'm not really, I don't think I'm sort of allowing myself to connect to it yet. So maybe disconnecting from a few things is sort of helping with mental state, but no, I'm sure we'll just be just so pleased. For all go on, tears streaming, throwing flowers at them. Oh my god, I love to see you. Welcome. Yeah. Just thinking about other, like, all this lockdown stuff and things that we're missing. Are there things that you've like got in your life now that you didn't? If it's a little daily habit or a new hobby or anything that you're going to keep?
So I mean, I had actually started cycling just slightly before the first lockdown, but I really got into it in the first lockdown. I cycled virtually, obviously, from Land's End to John O'Groats over like 3 months. I mean, that whole first lockdown, it took me the whole of that time to do it. But I absolutely loved it. And that is something that I definitely am going to keep. Because if I'm honest, I didn't have that much other than like either teaching or going to performing before. And I read, but that was kind of it. Didn't have a huge amount of like exercise routines in my life, and I'm loving it, loving having that kind of escape to the outside air. So that's definitely my new hobby that I'm really enjoying. How about you?
Yeah, that's interesting you mentioned your Land's End to John O'Groats, because my husband and I have just decided from the beginning of January we're running it, but as a pair.
Oh, cool.
But we're doing it in a year, because I think it really will take us that long.
It's very far, yeah.
It's a really long way. Yeah, we're 2 months in, and I'm looking at the map and like, we're not even 20% through it. We're hardly out of Devon. I mean, come on, staying forever.
That's really cool.
I really like that having this virtual goal of going the distance is quite cool. I like that. So I think we've I mean, I did run before, but it's been a little while since I was running properly again. And as Runkeeper likes to remind me, that I've not run this much before ever, despite me thinking that maybe I had. Apparently I didn't. So I'm quite pleased with that. I think that's And I was wondering, do you think it's because I mean, certainly before, other than my teaching, I didn't really have a great sense of routine in my life, maybe with the nature of what we do, and that routine is possibly what we've found, and I like it.
Yeah, that is very true. I hadn't thought of it like that. That is very true. I certainly didn't have any sort of routine before, because it was like concerts were just ad hoc, like and then teaching kind of squeezed in around it, and now teaching is my kind of only thing that I do quite a lot of actually at the moment. And so there is a routine, which is unusual, I guess, for a musician.
Yeah. I'm a little bit worried about having to go to bed a bit later than I am now, though. Terribly luxurious.
That sort of getting home at midnight after a concert. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't know how we did it.
No, not at all. So you teach. Presumably, all your teaching is also, I mean, similar to me, like this. Hence the headphones. It's not. I always feel like I'm like running some kind of cool podcast. I don't know. I feel really like radio or something with me. But this is how I teach. It seems to be much better for the sound, being able to talk to them. I wish they'd all wear headphones. So if any of them are listening, please put your headphones on. But do you secretly, obviously, do you wear your slippers when you're teaching?
My slippers right now.
Yeah, me too. I think I've forgotten what it is to put shoes on with an outfit. No. What are we going to do? It's going to be very strange.
Probably going to get blisters straight away.
The shoes. I wear a lot of trainers though, so it's all right. Until the concert platform, lots of trainers, lots of walking around with stuff. Yeah. But yeah, that's good. But yeah, slippers.
How do you find Zoom teaching? Has it been okay?
I think it's been all right, actually. I think there's actually plenty of positives about it. Most of my students are actually, some of them are even practicing more, I think. Maybe it's being at home a lot more with their parents.
Some of them do practice more, some of them are definitely not, but some of them are.
Yes, so it might, I don't know if they're just finding a little bit more time to do it, but in their lessons, I think it, on the whole, works incredibly well. And there are a few things I find myself getting frustrated with that I would love to just be in the room to be able to help sort. Do you find that similarly? Or?
And I also find, I mean, even when we're in the room, obviously we're not sort of meant to be too near them or whatever, but I find explaining something, especially to beginner violin, and especially to a very little beginner violin, which is, I teach at 2 primary schools. So I've started quite a few like 5 and 6 year olds off on the violin on Zoom. And
wow, that's amazing.
First of all, tuning the violin takes most of the lesson, and then sort of if they've got something very slightly in the wrong place, it can take me sort of 5 minutes to get them to change it, whereas in real life I just go like, oh, done.
Yes. But even when we're in the same room, it's going to be very hard to do that still. for now.
For now, yeah.
But yes, absolutely, primary students, I commend you. I think that's the hardest Zoom teaching to do. I only have one who's of primary school age. Most of my teaching, they're teenagers, so they can tune their instruments, and there's very few kind of technical glitches like that. But when they have come into trouble or they've had to change a string, so I've actually got I think I've done 2 videos that I've sent them. I've had to do like a little I certainly haven't put them on anywhere, just WhatsApp it over to them. Hopefully they haven't broadcast them live. But I've had to kind of walk it through and think about like, how would I do this if I really didn't know how to do it, and you talk them through every element of it. But it seems to have worked. In the next lesson they had new strings and they were in tune, so that's good.
Oh, that's very impressive. I'm impressed by that. I'm dreading the day that a string might snap. It hasn't actually happened yet, but
that's good. They seem to last forever on beginner violins.
True.
Last a long time. It's good. We have another question from Margaret. What piece of music do you most look forward to performing to a live audience?
Ooh. You can go first. I'm going to have to think about it.
Anything.
There are so many.
Anything at all.
Anything, yeah, exactly.
Anything. It could be the Hey Dougie theme tune. That's usually what I spend most of my life listening to at the moment.
Yeah. Oh no.
I hear Hey Dougie and Joe Wicks are collaborating. This was like news from yesterday. Not that most of anyone will care about that. They're getting their workout badge. But no, seriously, I would anything really. But I'm not saying this because we're on the LCO live chat, but actually I just love playing with the London Chamber Orchestra. I have done for many years now, and it's one of my favourite days at the office to be with the colleagues there. So I'm really looking forward to just playing music with them, whatever it is.
I totally agree. There's something so exciting about the players with LCO. Sort of everyone just really, really wants to be there. And I really, that's true. And that was so nice about this recording was that even without an audience, that feeling was there, and it was very, very exciting to play in that.
It was sort of an electric feeling in the atmosphere to produce music together again. So sorry we can't be specific, Margaret. I think we're just all so desperate to play anything together to a live audience. We're hoping you'll just lap up whatever it is. We have another question here from Dave. What was or is, I suppose, your favourite beginner piece when learning, and do you still play it?
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I've spent all week teaching What Should We Do with a Drunken Sailor to both violin students and piano students, because I teach both, and it's in both methods that I use, which is quite a fun one, I'd say. I don't know how beginner sort of that, because I don't know.
I'm going like right back to the beginning when I used to play things. Actually, I didn't do the Suzuki method, but I used the books. My teacher would use those. So I think anything from Suzuki Book 1 will be incredibly nostalgic and lovely. So we're done with our chat, as much as I would love to continue chatting all night long. Next you've got Graham Fitkin and Chris on the YouTube and Facebook and on the website, who will be chatting before the concert, which we hope you stay tuned for the whole thing as well. So enjoy your chat with Chris. So speaking for the both of us, thank you from Jane and I for listening and the questions, and hope we've answered them, and see you all soon.